Poverty scoring is a way for microlenders, or really any pro-poor organization, to measure how poor their clients are in a quantitative way. So basically there's a questionnaire with simple questions that are inexpensive to collect and that are highly linked with poverty. So example questions might be, what kind of fuel do you use for cooking? And possible responses might be, firewood, gas, electricity. And so each response has a point value. So firewood might get 0 points, gas might get 8 points, electricity might get 12 points. Then there's another question. What kind of toilet do you have? Well, we have a pit toilet, no toilet, flush toilet where you have to carry the water and pour it in, flush toilet with piped water, etc. Do you own an iron for ironing clothes? Do you own a toaster? In Latin America, owning a blender is often an indicator of poverty. So there's 10 questions. They're all, in principle, verifiable. They're things that when you go to the person's house, you could look and say, yes, they have a blender. Yes, they have a television. And each of the answers has a point value. You add up the points and you get a score, which is between 0 and 100. Each score is then related to a likelihood or a probability that the person is below poverty. So if I got a score of 0, which would be the lowest score and the most likely poor, maybe that means that I'm 95% poor, because when you look at people who score 0, and then if you measure their expenditure, you find out that 95% of them are poor. So it's basically a quick, simple, inexpensive way to measure poverty. It was developed there's a couple of strands. There's always been a push in microfinance for social performance management, and I always found that to be a whole lot of talk because they didn't really have any way to measure anything other than, are you rural? Are you a farmer? Are you a woman? What's your loan size? And some very simple things like that. But this is a very direct measure, and it's inexpensive, and people can understand it. And so partly from my credit scoring background, when I had a lot of credit scoring projects fail because people didn't understand the scorecard, when we came to poverty scoring, we said, let's make something that is transparently obvious that it makes sense, it fits on one page. Anyone who looks at it would say, yes, if you have a pit toilet, you're more poor than if you have a flush toilet, etc. So it's meant to be simple, and yet we know how accurate it is. We know that it's objective, it's quantitative, and it enables these local pro-poor organizations to do many things. They can report to funders and say, okay, 50% of our clients are below $1 a day. We're not sure exactly which ones, but if you add up their poverty likelihood, poverty likelihoods, how likely each person is poor, and you get an average of 50%, you know that half your clients are below $1 a day. And then if you can do that, you do it twice in time. You do it once this year, once 2 years from now, and if it goes from 50 to 45, you can say there was a change of 5 percentage points. Now, you can't say that it's because of your activities, but you know there was at least a change. Also, if there's organizations that are interested for their own reasons, there's one thing to report to funders, right? Another thing is to say, we want to reach the poor and we want to use it as a management tool. So as a management tool, it gives you, for each household and for your whole portfolio of clients, summary measures of how poor they are. So you can see, over time, okay, this year our incoming cohort average poverty level is 40%. The year before it was 35%. So we're improving somehow our depth of outreach. And then of course you'd have to use regular old management techniques to find out why. But poverty scoring would give you better information about it. Funders seem to be interested in poverty scoring because they can prove that their fundees, people receiving their money, are actually reaching the poor or not. To me, the most interesting and also the most useful result to come out of poverty scoring has been most organizations that apply it and apply it correctly come back and say, we're surprised, we thought 80% of our clients were poor, really it's 20%. 80 to 90% of the users have found that their clients are much less poor than they thought. They're poor by a common sense standard, but they're not poor in the sense of being below $1 a day or being under the national poverty line or whatever. So in that sense, it gives funders a way to say, okay, well, you guys really only reach 20% of people who are poor. You're reaching 40% of your clients are poor. Maybe they want to fund people with 40% of clients if their mission is poverty. It's like any other performance measure. If your mission or your goal is to reach poor people, this gives you a way to measure it, and then you can manage that. That's why funders would be interested in it. Ford Foundation has funded probably the majority of the work, often via Grameen Foundation. Grameen Foundation is requiring all its partners in its different countries to use this as part of their social performance management. Different other networks are using it. Oikocredit is introducing it in several of their countries with Grameen Foundation technical assistance. CRS is also doing like Oikocredit. Among their network, they're introducing it. Several large organizations in Bangladesh have said they're using it. One of the more interesting things for me is that the World Bank is doing a very large conditional cash transfer program in Pakistan where they're going to transfer some amount of money every month to poor rural households. And they basically took the way we do it and copied it, and now they're using that for their program, which is going to interview basically every rural household in Pakistan over the next 3 years to see whether they qualify for a cash transfer or not. So it's pretty widely used. They're available on the web for free. There's documentation. People have definitely picked them up and used them without any technical assistance because they wanted to for their own reasons. It's more widely used than I really can document. When we started off, I was especially thinking of Bangladesh, where, at least in the stuff I read, they didn't have good computer systems or any computer systems. So we designed it to work on paper. It's a piece of paper, one side, 10 questions. The only math involved is addition of positive numbers that are easy to add. Most of the numbers you add are zero. So it's been designed to work on paper. So one thing you can do is use it for targeting. So if you were in a micro lender and you wanted to say, well, we want clients who are at least 70% likely to be poor. You could send your loan agents into the field and they could score the household in 5 or 10 minutes, get the score and say, okay, you qualify to apply for a loan or you don't qualify to apply for a loan, or you qualify for this product and not that product or whatever. So it was totally designed to be doable on paper. There is software. It's sort of ironic. I've made a simple Excel spreadsheet where people can do all this. They can type it in the head office and track it and keep it on an Excel. Grameen is also making a software. They've been working on it for 2 years.